So our next Earth Talk will be by a couple of our fantastic students, Durisko and Taylor McKenzie. Take it away, team.
Awesome. Hello, my name is Taylor McKenzie, and I am a second year at Seattle U, majoring in environmental studies and women, gender, and sexuality studies.
Hi, my name is Day. My focus was on environmental studies as well, with an ecological systems specialization. So today we're going to talk to you guys about where your leftovers go. Majority of the leftovers become food waste, and food waste is it's the edible amount of food post-harvest that is available to humans for humans' consumption, but is not consumed for any reason. There's a couple causes that affect food waste. One of them is overproduction. So the causes of food waste or loss are numerous, and they can occur in multiple stages, whether that's producing, processing, retailing, or consuming food. About 43% of food that's wasted occurs in our homes. Spoilage is when you prepare more food than what you can actually eat. And I think that overproduction and spoilage go hand in hand. If we were able to rescue about 15% of the food that we wasted, we'd be able to save enough to feed 25 million people in America each year. Also, lack of composting can affect food waste, because when we're throwing all of our food to the landfills, we're not composting them correctly, right? Food that is thrown away and taken to the landfills will then rot and release methane gases, which is a potent greenhouse gas that is 25 times more harmful than CO2. The last major cause of food waste is unsustainable consumption patterns. Our consumption patterns and habits have a direct relationship to climate change, pollution, biodiversity loss, and resource depletion. By only consuming what we need, we can minimize the negative impact that we make on food waste. Now, food waste isn't just an issue that we're facing in the United States, it's also a global issue. About a third of all food never leaves the factory. So a third of the food raised or prepared doesn't make it from the farm or factory to our homes, right? 40% of the food in the United States that ends up in the landfill. 35% of the food in high-income economies is thrown out by consumers. The carbon footprint of food waste is roughly 7% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And a recent study showed that more than 20% of all greenhouse gas emissions are produced by agricultural practices. So when you think about that, that's about 21% of all fresh water, 18% of cropland, and 19% of fertilizer, all in the service of producing food that we could consume or use for other people, but we end up wasting. So the final thought I would like to put out here is that less food loss and waste could lead to more efficient land use and better water resource management, with positive impacts on climate change and our lives.
All right, so what does this mean for halting climate change? Project Drawdown is a research organization focused on finding the top 100 ways that we can reach the drawdown point. This is when levels of greenhouse gases start to decline. Project Drawdown names food waste and the reduction of it the third most important tool we have in reducing overall greenhouse gases. For example, if we reduce 50 to 75% of food waste by 2050, we can avoid emissions equal to 10 to 18 gigatons of carbon dioxide. We can reduce even more by avoiding deforestation for additional farmland. Finally, the tremendous community impact. We can feed people if we change systems and reallocate surplus food to organizations supporting our communities. So this is where you come in. Be a part of the change. To the best of your ability, prepare with intention. This means trying to only cook what you know you and your loved ones can eat. If excess food is produced, compost it and add it to your gardens. Freeze more to extend the shelf life of your products. Buy imperfect produce whenever possible. Also try to buy local and organic produce, as this will reduce the amount of miles produce has to travel to get to your plate. It also supports the local economy. Even if food and produce looks not as pretty, it'll still taste just as good. And finally, advocate for policy and collective change. Ultimately, individuals can only do so much. We must focus on increasing our collective action of seeing each other as part of a community rather than individual parts to change food systems and help every member of our community. So, how do you get involved? If you're currently an SU student or faculty member, you can join the Food Recovery Program. If you're an alumni, please join the SU Sustainability Coalition. When possible, volunteer with local organizations such as Operation Sack Lunch in Seattle.
In addition, you can also do research. For me, I found the Global Risk Report, Feeding America, and Move for Hunger very interesting resources when looking into food waste and how it impacts our lives. And lastly, you can also reach out to Taylor or I, and we would both love to talk to you guys more about any options when it comes to making an impact on food waste.
Thank you so much.